Hello, this is another tutorial. This is a small one, hopefully, about motion. And this video I want to focus a little bit on the colors. And I found every time like working with colors in Hydra is quite tricky. So now, actually I can start with this, like just basic stuff. But it's also always good to go back to basics. So for example, if you have these arrays inside solid, you can switch colors. And I mean, this is like a good starting point, I would say. Like for example, if you multiply this with OSC, then you can have OSC with different colors, and you can just like have different combinations and patterns. So that's something. And other sources, for example, gradient has different colors, and if you put a number here, then you can have color fading. It's actually, I think the blue channel is modulating with like sine wave. So if you actually do it like this, just take the blue channel, then you can see that, wait, yeah, like fading in and out. Probably it goes to like negative value. That's why black is longer than white. Anyways, so that's one way of working with a color motion. And again, you could do something like multiply with OSC or whatever your favorite pattern, and you can have like color changing over time. The other source is, what else do we have? OSC. Normally OSC is like this, but as you know, if you put like the third parameter, which is like normally 0, so this is the default parameter for OSC, it doesn't change. And if you go for the last parameter, then you start to see colors appearing. This is because it starts to shift the phase of the sine waves between red, green, and blue, and it will be like maximum at oh, let's try this one. This is like, I think the red and blue channels are completely overlapping, and green channel is how to say, half the phase shifted. So you can see this magenta and green like alternating looking. And if you go for like half of this phase, and you can have like nice rainbow-ish, although this is not rainbow because why is it not rainbow? Because rainbow is a spectrum, color spectrum, and this is sine wave shifted, and you can see colors that are like blended between like red and green or green and blue. In this color spectrum, that doesn't happen, I think, but that's like not so important. But this looks like rainbow. We accept that this is a rainbow, and normally this is a bit wordy, so I just go for 1.5, which is like approximation, and it looks almost the same. And I like to work with 6, so it's a little bit slower, and the reason why I choose 6 is if you go for like math pi times 2, then if you calculate, it actually spans like this. One sine wave goes from one edge of the window to the other edge. So actually, like, you see that, for example, this yellow is coming in and yellow is coming in from the other side. And now it's like blue coming in, and so it's like wrapping right now. And the reason why I use 6 is like, again, like approximately, like this is 6 or 6.28 something, so 6 is okay. Now, so I want to talk about motion. I mean, this is already moving, and if you could use this as like a palette for painting other sources. So for example, if I do like pixelate 1, then now it's like, I think it's sampling, I don't know if it's the center or the corner. Actually, I could just check. Right now it's light blue. Yeah, I think it's sampling at the center of the screen. And basically, like, pixelate is like this pixelation effect, but if you go for pixelate 1, then basically the whole canvas becomes like single color, in this case sampling the center pixel. And because the OSC is like going from one side to another, then you can see this color changing in that rainbow-ish fashion. And as I did before, I could multiply this with like OSC or whatever your favorite source. Then you can have your pattern colored with like rainbow, like changing, like party light kind of effect. Oops, this is too small. Yeah. So that's something you can do. But as you can see, like, I personally don't like this black part. And the reason why is like it's multiplication, so it's basically, how they say that, the lighter part of the canvas becomes colored because of like multiplication. Because if you multiply 1 with something else, then it doesn't change. But if you multiply 0, which is a black color, with a color, then it just goes black. So it's kind of like boring. It's also like, it's color, but it feels monotonous. I mean, it is monotone because it's just single color fading, like a grayscale, but like yellow grayscale, like a red scale kind of situation happening right now. You could also do like add. Then it's kind of like the same situation, because now it's like, instead of black, it goes to white. You can do the math. I mean, I'm not going to go into detail, but so something I want is, for example, like, this is also like a good trick I learned from Olivia. That is, so let's say we have, just delete this, normal OSC, and if you do color, like in this first example with solid, but instead of like just doing normal color, you can do like negative value. So 1 has positive 1, 1 has negative 1, and then you start to have this contrast of like 2 different colors, which is super interesting. And if you want to have like motion, you can have like motion or like sequence. You can have like this. Maybe this is not that interesting because it's just like switching between 2 positions, but you could do something like this, for example. Then you can see that the red becomes green and red green, but the blue part remains the same. And I want to like have this kind of like OSC that has not just like black and red or yellow and white, but kind of like color variation. So in order to do this, I explained this in other video sometime, like the old ones. The trick I like to use is remapping colors. So I'm gonna just take this one as a palette, and I'm not gonna explain everything because it's gonna take some time. So just follow me. Like, basically, I want the function here. Oops. So that's the function that is going to be the pattern, and this is the function that, or the source or texture that becomes the color palette. And here I want to do sub gradient to cancel out the effect of modulation, whatever it is. And so now what's happening is, instead of the OSC, the normal OSC, which is, oops, doesn't work that way. Okay. So this is the pattern, and instead of like going from black to white, I want to use this one as a palette. So instead of going from like, wait, what was it again? So let's say like blue to yellow to red to blue. That's like, instead of black to white, I want like this kind of rainbowish transition. And you could see that probably like, I don't know, this is black supposedly, and this is used to be like white. And now you can see that instead of going from like black to gray to white, you can see like blue to yellow to red to blue. And since we're talking about motion, we could add this parameter here. So the palette itself is changing. And now you can see this crazy effect. Now it's actually like two movements happening, because OSC itself is this base pattern. OSC is moving, so I can stop it. And now you can see that this is purely coming from the palette texture that's changing. And I feel this is a little bit too much. So what I normally do is to make the palette more like spread out, or like have less color variation, because right now we have like almost all the spectrum, quote unquote, in the palette. But if you do something like this, let's just do this itself. So now it has like kind of like becoming like warm color into like a cold palette, and now that's like transitioning by itself. So we put all together, and now you can see this, like you can still see the OSC pattern, like these two phases, how to say that, the bumps, I don't know how to say, and the base OSC is still, and the palette is like slowly morphing to like warm color to cold color. And that's more like, I think it's interesting to work with. You can like craft different colors, like just by changing this parameter here. If you go like crazy, then you go back to this, like, I don't know, I don't want to say psychedelic, but people would refer to that, I think. Or if you have like less number, then you have like less contrast, which could be also interesting. The other thing I like to use is, this is not really like about motion, but if you pixelate the palette, then you can see that, yeah, it's not really drastic, but you can see it's like posterize kind of effect. Okay. So one more thing I want to talk about is to add movements. What if we add movements to this palette function? Okay, I'm gonna just like make it. I should have done this earlier. And this is like, I don't know how to say, like, yeah, whatever. So, oops. Oh yeah, of course. Okay, so we're gonna work with the palette, and for example, what I just did is like pixelate, that pixelates the palette, so it's not like pixelating with the coordinate space in this base texture, but instead of that, it's like more like posterize effect with Hydra. And what else we could do? Something interesting would be modulate. I like to use modulate or C11 and maybe like even like this. So what happens is like before it was like constantly going from like, let's say like warm palette to cold palette, but now it has a little bit more of kind of this accent, and sometimes the, how do you say, the contrast becomes lower. Like right now it was low because modulate is like kind of like stretching and shrinking the whole palette. We could debug it. Actually, we just have to do render and say, hey, I want palette is out to 01. Yeah. Is it? I'm actually not sure if this is doing it right. Anyways, wait, is this correct? Because they look the same. I'm quite confused because this is what I want. Yeah, this is what I wanted. Interesting. I don't know why. So what you see on the bottom left is the palette that is morphing the base, or what I call base texture, whatever you want to call. Oh, now I noticed, like, I think you can't call the same function twice. It's something very tricky, so you have to do something like this as a function call. That's like a bit too much detail, but basically now this like really gives like a better idea of what I was doing. So the bottom left is the palette, like that's the colors, like literally on the palette, well, like as a metaphor. And this top right is like kind of like the base, or how to say, like this is something I want to colorize. And what happens at behind the code, the top left is like the result. So this black part becomes the left part of the palette, and the bright part of the base texture becomes the right edge of this palette. And you can do like modulate scale, for example. That gives a little bit like different effect. Actually, I'm curious, like just playing around with these parameters, because I think it's interesting to like modulate scale with like -0.9 or something. So like sometimes it goes like really like zooms out and in. So if you just focus on the palette, it's right now it's okay, but then like sometimes it just goes like really squished, because instead of like expanding, like zooming in, it's, if you go like close to minus, I can zoom this just to like -1, that goes crazy because it's basically dividing by 0. So sometimes it goes like really, palette goes like really crazy, and then you can see that the effect is actually here is reflecting this condensed color from the palette. And of course you can work on this base texture, like you can do like Voronoi, and you can now start to see that you can work with the color and this form of or the shape or the base texture like separately, which is super interesting. And yeah, for example, like I want to do like Voronoi, but like mask with shape for, I don't know, whatever you want. It's probably not that interesting, but yeah, something like this, and then you want to layer, blah blah, you can do things. One thing, like actually something interesting happening here is that here the base texture, the top right, what is called F, you mask the Voronoi, so you have like this frame which is black, but in the result that black part is also colorized, because in the palette there is no black. Like if you want to hack it, you can just edit this palette somehow so that the left edge has black color, which is a little bit, I mean, you could also do other ways to solve this, but just for fun. Solid, mask, shape, 1, rotate, math, pi divided by 2. Okay, so I mean, this is like actually like what thresholding is happening, the kind of situation is happening. Yeah, so you can actually see like what thresholding is. Like this is kind of like if you work with like Photoshop or GIMP, it's like a color curve, you know, like if the value is, I don't know, the brightness is less than 50, just cut it off. So yeah, that's basically thresholding. And then if you think about the color level, maybe this makes sense, but I don't know. I feel like I'm just like overloading right now. But I'm gonna upload this some example code into the description below, so you can play around with it. And if you have any questions, just write me by, I don't know, email or whatever. I mean, I don't have socials now, but email or like comment down below. That works best because other people can see it as well. And yeah, please share with me what you create, and maybe if I have these responses, I will make another response video. Let's see. But yeah, have fun, and see you in the next video. Ciao.